called to order at 6 p.m. Can we go forward?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here. Hurtado. Here. Here. Foley. Here. Flavin. Here. Stein. At this time, I would ask if there are any public comments. Anybody like to go?
I haven't done this in a long time. I tried to get my husband with his technology background to play the happy song, but didn't do it. My name is Deb Jancic, and I represent members of the Plainfield Park District Alliance as their chairperson. We wanted to take this opportunity the day after the election to congratulate and welcome Mary Kay Ludeman, Larry Newton, Mimi Poley, and Rob Ayers. A few have called our group a special interest group, which is not true. But we are especially interested in making sure that the very best people, those who care about the Park District and its future, those who have its best interest at heart, those who are willing to serve with honesty, integrity, and transparency, and those who are dedicated to public service for the right reasons are elected. We found that in our two re-elected and two newly elected park board members, the voters have spoken, and I wanted to personally and as our group congratulate each of you. Our park district is in great hands. Thank you for all that you do.
I have a concern, or is that okay? Sorry, it's my first time. My name is Nicole Lawson. I live in the Clearwater Springs, Clearwater Springs subdivision, which, as my knowledge from attending our homeowners meetings, part of the park district is in charge of maintaining some of the ponds and some, well, not the ponds, but some of the parks that are at that subdivision and some of the area around it. And I just am here to kind of on behalf of the whole homeowners. There's just been a lot of gang tagging and a lot of really bad things happening to our parks. It's every day, and now that the weather's getting warmer, of course we're seeing it more often, every week there is more spray paint, drug paraphernalia all around the parks. Spray painted on the slides, on the swings, on the benches, on the pavement, on the gazebo that we have there. And it's really frustrating as homeowners. There's a whole bunch of us that are kind of arranging as a neighborhood watch, but we can only watch during the daytime. Anytime there's suspicious like kids there, which you hate to stereotype, but we've just been patrolling. Anything we see, we call the police. I feel like our situation is difficult because we use Joliet Police. We have a Plainfield address. The graffiti's taken care of by the Joliet Graffiti Department. So I just feel like you guys don't really truly understand how much they're out there cleaning it. They were there last week for 2.5 hours power washing some of this graffiti, and then just for the next day to be put up in another place. So my concern is, and I'm trying to find a resolution. I understand money is tight, I get it. But for the safety of the kids in the area and a lot of what's going on, houses in the area constantly are getting violated and damaged. And my house is right on the pond, so I kind of see a lot of the things happening. But at nighttime, it's pitch black. That's when most of the stuff is happening. We've all tried, if you're on the park bike path, we all try to have our back porch lights on, to try to deter, but really, it is such a vast place, it's pitch black. My husband's an electrician, and we noticed that there are some concrete pedestals kind of already preset. I think the developer meant to put lights there, but probably not enough funds and didn't do so. So I guess my question, comment, hope, or dream is to kind of get some sort of lighting or something back there. Or if you guys don't want to take care of it, like letting us as a homeowners association, we would be more than happy to take over the costs for providing the lighting, the costs for putting up the light. I mean, we're kind of really desperate. So I don't know, I'm new to this, so I don't really know what can happen or if anything. I just wanted you guys to know that it is a major concern. It's just frustrating. You try really hard, and I think the Mayfair Park that's kind of next to it, it's the same stuff that's happening there too. So, I guess that's just kind of my piece.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else that would like to make public comment? Item 5, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion. Can I ask one question about that?
Second.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, and discussion.
Should the treasurer's report say February or should it be March?
The listing?
Yeah. Report of the month of February. Okay. March meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We close out after the meeting then, so we're 1 month behind always. I just want to look at which part you were talking about. Thank you.
Clearly 2 months behind.
Any other discussion? Okay, a motion was made by Commissioner Newton and seconded by Commissioner Ayers to approve the consent agenda. Roll call.
Ayers?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Poling?
Yes.
Malowski?
Yes.
Stein?
Yes.
Item 6, staff reports.
Some topics that I'd like to bring up to the board. The district will be issuing the procurement cards, our P cards that we approved back in November, December. Team members will undergo an orientation and training as established with the purchasing cards program procedure manual that we developed on how we're going to operate with those. In accordance with the field and facility usage and allocation policy, we have worked with the Plainfield Athletic Club, PAC, and the Plainfield Soccer Association, and have issued the memorandum of understandings for the affiliate agreements that are covered for the calendar year 2015. These agreements are renewable annually, provided that the affiliates all meet the requirements as set forth in the policy. Additionally, we still need to sit down and work with Plainfield Junior Cats and establishing theirs, but we are with the 2 that have started their seasons at this point. Last month, it was discussed regarding the LCSRA Advisory Committee regarding non-resident fees. Cheryl, Corinne, and I both sit on the advisory committee, so we brought it up as a topic added to the agenda. As an advisory committee, we discussed the topic. One of the directions from the committee that was set forth to the manager in charge of the LCSRA, Jill, was to look at other SRA's non-resident policy and then make recommendations for what LCSRA's non-resident policy could be moving forward. So that will come to this month's LCSRA Advisory Committee for review. In response to the dog flu epidemic that's been going through the Chicagoland area and the suburbs, the Park District has followed the Chicago Park District's lead in providing warning and identifying symptoms on signage in front of all 3 of our dog parks as a preventative measure. Following last month's question at this time, or around this time in the meeting, regarding legal fees, I just wanted to give a better breakdown. So what I did is I put together a memo showing more of the topics of where we're spending our fees in regards to legal. You'll each have that. Currently, with our general counsel, Kavanaugh, Bromley, and Gorbel, we are at $37,115, and that's for general standard operation, presumably that. And then in regards to labor costs with Foley and Lardner, we are at $63,639. And once again, I'll pass this memo around so you can see the breakout. This is through February, so So even though the March doesn't reflect in your current bill, we did put all the way through February, so you had received the billing in March. That will then give us a better idea or give us an idea of moving forward, that we still have 4 more months of legal fees to incur, that this amount of approximately just over $100,000 will still go up as we have March, April, May, and June. The master plan continues to move on. The Delphi Committee will be presenting their report and finding, and what they came to a consensus on at the May meeting. Design Perspectives, Todd will also be providing a status update at that time. We are looking to establish an extra meeting in June from Design Concepts. They're part of that group that came in from Colorado. We had Tom at the one visioning meeting. They have provided a little bit more on regards to our Park District inventory, so they'll be coming in to present it. We'll be looking for an extra meeting, seeing they'll be wanting a little bit extra time in the month of June. So in May, we'll want to set that meeting so I can give them a better time. And then additionally, we'll be establishing another public input meeting once we have a little bit better of a conclusion on the basis of our general aspects that came out of the community aptitude survey. They're starting to, so that will kind of wrap up that aspect of community input. They're looking at, we had it originally scheduled for the end of April, but as we push some things back, I'm working with Todd to set it early May, or early mid-May. I will inform the board once that is finished up. As we stated with our board committees, we will let you guys know of things that are coming down if we need to call the committees to action. So I'm just going to kind of normally tell you at this point, unless you want me to tell you at the point we do committee review. But we do know that looking prior to May 1, we're going to be looking for our Personnel and Policy Committee meeting to further discuss the Executive Director job description, facility and rental usage policy, and a capital asset policy. Once we have an idea of when the meeting is, as I did last month with a weekly update, I'll put some of those items tagged into the back of the weekly update. And then also sometime around May 1, 4, or 5, we'll be looking at the Finance and Liability meeting, or Finance and Liability Committee to convene to go over the draft of the corporate and recreation budgets that will be presented at the May meetings. And then finally, last week, and I had this in my last week's update, I met with the Landmark and Designation Subcommittee of the Historical Preservation Committee for Plainfield. They're seeking to establish a historical district which would involve Village Green as the center of this district from what they're looking for. While there are some benefits, as they explained, with such an establishment, it does bring on a certain set of criteria that's involved in regards to any redevelopment of any structures, additionally any structures on our property. One of the things they just requested is that they can come present to the board to explain what they're looking for, and then that would be a board decision at that point. Well, I'm curious to relay the information to them. Would you prefer it in May, maybe June? May is a pretty busy meeting as it's our annual meeting, and we'll be doing the swearing in commissioners, some of the budget review, etc. Would you prefer it to be closer to June? It's the board's consensus on that.
Unless they have any crossing June.
Okay. They didn't really, they were open just in the near future.
June sounds good.
And then unless there's any other questions of me, I would just like to say our Recreation and Parks Department did a great job with our holiday events, the Easter egg hunts, and other happenings that went on over the month, so they deserve a lot of credit for that.
Next report, Director of Planning and Procurement.
At this time, Jennifer's going to give us a little update on where we sit with the DuPage River Trail, the ITAP portion of it. And you also have a handout here, or she passed out at the start.
Just to give you kind of an overview of where we're at, we've received a little bit of bad news, which is going to be a delay in putting in the bridge for the river trail. The section that we completed in 2004 or 2014 is this yellow section. So this is coming south from Lockport Street all the way down and ends just near the Riverfront Foundation building. The section that we're talking about today is the section in red. So it would be the continuation of the path in yellow, the crossing of the DuPage River, and then connecting into the existing Fort Bags Trail by Redwood Park. Has happened. In November, the Park District sent a copy of the ComEd lease to IDOT to review. We sent to IDOT to go through the lease, see if they had any questions or concerns. At that point in time, IDOT didn't have any questions or concerns, so the Park District proceeded. ComEd signed the lease, the Park District signed the lease.
No, just comment, or just we assign this comment.
That's true. ComEd sent it back to us in, I think we signed in January, we finally got it back from ComEd in March 10th. So it takes a while for ComEd to get 9 people who have to sign off on this. So proceeding from November, everything looked okay. Park District signed it in January, received it back March 10th from ComEd. We had to submit our final package to IDOT for approval shortly after that, so that was sent directly to IDOT. They came back with a couple extra things on the 13th that they needed signed. I think it was an attorney certification letter, and then a letter that had been a Park District letterhead. Not a comment about the ComEd lease at that point. Sent the stuff back over. At that point, we were still scheduled to be on the April 24th bid letting. They let us know on, I believe, the 16th that they now have an issue with the ComEd lease. And their issue stands as this. All of our ComEd leases have been written to date. It's a 10-year lease with a 10-year option to renew. So a 20-year lease in essence. IDOT is now asking that that lease be changed to a strict 20-year lease. So I don't know for sure if that is a change in their interpretation of their requirements or if that's an actual change in the requirement. So we contacted ComEd, talked to them. She did indicate that they have seen this in the last couple of months where something has changed with IDOT. So they have sent our lease back out to ComEd, the 9 officials, to have it re-signed and to see if it can be approved for a 20-year lease. I think you all went through the original process of how long that takes ComEd. I think it took like 10 months originally. They don't think it's going to take anywhere near that long, but they can't give me a time frame. So where does that leave us at this point? If I get that lease back from ComEd by the 29th, we'll resubmit, and then we would be on the June 12th bid letting. If we miss the April 29th documentation phase, then the next bid lettings are on July 31st, September 18th, and November 5th. So at this point, everything is in as far as we know. ComEd is, or as far as we know, IDOT is comfortable with everything we submitted, with the exception of the ComEd lease. It's just a matter of ComEd getting that readjusted and reassigned. Some of the issues we're going to have to work through is the Village of Plainfield wants to resurface River Road. Carlo and I have a meeting tomorrow with Public Works to give them a heads up as to what's going on, because once again, we had kind of told them that we got our ComEd lease back and we were looking for the April 24th. So then the other aspect of that is the school district. They would really like to have this work done in summertime because of the traffic on River Road. And we'll have to coordinate with them at this point. So.
And one of the issues that had come up in the past was with the Route 30 improvements that are coming up was trying to synchronize some of this work so the detours would work in line with each other. Now with us being pushed back, that won't exactly happen as planned. So we are now hitting the snafu that most likely this work at the earliest would not start till early July or late July, but the realistic thing is this possibly might not happen in 2015 and get pushed to 2016, depending on if we miss our window, because you're also looking at, when working with asphalt, et cetera, we probably have to about mid-November at the latest to work with that.
And according to the engineer, it's about a 3-month process to get the entire project done. I mean, there is a possibility you could do the bridge in the wintertime and come back into the asphalt in the spring, but that is still something that would have to be ironed out depending on what days we finally start to make progress with that. And then just in case you haven't been out recently, I went out yesterday and snapped a couple of photos. So that's where our trail is ending right now. You can see the grass is starting to come up, which is nice. And you can kind of see looking over where those ComEd lines are. That's where we'll be crossing the bridge. And it's just kind of out of the shot, but that's the Fort Beggs trail that we'd be tying into. Any other questions?
And it's a lake, so that's a good grant.
No, we may have to apply for an extension on it.
At this time,
At this time,
we're not seeing an effect, but moving forward, if we do run into a
Continue.
hiccup with, we can't extend the lease, that could affect the grant funding at that point.
Mhm.
So, because for us to actually make headway on the project, we do need the recreational lease.
And as I understand, there's nothing we can do with ComEd, nothing to speed them up or,
Nothing to speed them up. I've been talking to Lisa probably every other week, so, and we were going through the renewals on some of the other leases, so she's trying, but.
We have engaged our own legislators in the past on issues like this.
Okay.
we'll be meeting with them in the near future, so.
Next is item 7, committee reports. Is there a capital and development report? No, okay. Finance and liability report? No. Personnel and policy report?
Yes.
Okay.
The committee met twice, and we are presenting tonight the park naming policy. And as Carlos has already mentioned, we have other things sitting, waiting for us to take on. So we're working fast and furious to try to get some of these policies and the job description, which is quite complex, I'm learning, moving forward.
Is there a recreation and parking report? No. And no governance and accountability report from us? Okay.
Well, we're, with the recreation and marketing, with that one, I had talked with our executive director about it because there had been something in the paper about us being, recreation being composting. And discussed this, we had a discussion with him about various people that would be on the committee, things that we could discuss and maybe I was rather concerned because on this particular issue, is that was not within my, yes, and I was most grateful for that. We've had enough talk about compost. I know we're not, but I'm grateful that somebody else is getting involved.
So item 8, action items. Seeking a motion to consider resolution 2015-04, a resolution renaming Mayfair Park to private first class Andrew Berry Memorial Park.
So at this point, this comes off the request that was asked to be added to the action items for this month as we are handling the resolutions on a per case basis. We do have the policy immediately following this so we can move forward with it. And the resolution that we are looking to put forth on 2015-4, a resolution renaming Mayfair Park to PFC Andrew Berry Memorial Park. The resolution reads as, whereas PFC Andrew Berry was a Plainfield resident since the age of 8 years old, having attended Droughton Point Middle School and Plainfield South High School, and whereas he was a resident of the Mayfair subdivision and had spent many hours as a youth playing in the Mayfair Park, and whereas PFC Berry served in the United States Army as a member of Company A, 1st Battalion, 502D Infantry Regiment, 2D Brigade Combat Team, 101st Airborne Division Air Assault, and whereas PFC Berry was awarded the Bronze Star Medal, and whereas PFC Berry was awarded a Purple Heart Medal, and whereas he was also awarded a Good Conduct Medal for exemplary behavior, efficiency, and fidelity in active federal military, and whereas PFC military was killed in action on November 1st, 2010 in Kandahar, Afghanistan. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Plainfield Township Park District, Will and Kendall Counties, Illinois, that from this day forward, Mayfair Park, located in Mayfair subdivision, will be named PFC Andrew Berry Memorial Park.
Okay, is there a motion? I'll make that motion. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Before we talk, we have a guest from the audience that would like to speak at this time on behalf of this naming, Jerry Meehan.
Thank you. I printed this, but naturally I printed the wrong time. So I'm gonna have to read that my phone a little bit. My name is Jerry Meehan. I live at 6613 on the Harvey Lane in the Mayfair subdivision. I was Andrew's stepfather. I'd like to take a few moments, if I can do it without breaking down a little bit. I'd like to take a few moments to tell you a little bit about my wife's only child. At the age of 8 years old, Andrew moved to the Mayfair subdivision, and Mayfair Park instantly became the center of his social universe. It was the first place he was allowed to go on his bike by himself. Having moved from the city of Chicago, this was seen as a great adventure of independence for Andrew. Through those childhood years, many imaginary rocket ships were piloted from the playground equipment, pirate ships captained from the gazebo, and battles and make-believe wars fought upon the grassy fields of this park. At the age of 19, Andrew enlisted in the Army, and at age 20, life took him to a different battlefield in a very real war, far away from Plainfield and Mayfair Park. In May of 2010, he was deployed to Sanjay, a small village in Afghanistan just outside of Kandahar, the birthplace of the Taliban, in support of Operation Dragon Strike. The mission was simple: run mounted and dismounted patrols through the village, battling, arresting, and removing insurgents, and rebuild, reopen, and provide security for a school that had been the scene of untold horrors and eventually a bombing, because the village elders had the audacity to allow girls to attend the school and receive the same education as the boys. On November 1st, 2010, less than 2 months after his 21st birthday, Andrew's platoon was returning from one of these patrols to their combat outpost. They had a steep hill to climb and a road to cross, then they were home. At the base of the hill, an Afghani approached on a motorcycle. He was stopped, instructed to turn off the engine, and searched. There was nothing out of the ordinary found, and he was told to wait until the last soldier was up the hill, then restart his bike and be on his way. Smiling and nodding the entire time, he was very cooperative. As about half the platoon had started up the hill, another soldier and Andrew were passing the motorcycle. The driver had reached for the key to start the engine, and as he did so, Andrew stepped towards him, placing himself between the motorcycle and the rest of the platoon. What could not have been seen during the search was that the gas tank of the motorcycle had been packed with explosives and connected to a remote detonator. The impact of the explosion killed Andrew instantly, along with another soldier, and severely wounded several others. The explosion was the signal which triggered an ambush attack that lasted about 20 minutes, with the platoon taking fire from 3 sides. No help was to come from the combat post, which was a mere 100 yards or so away, for Andrew was a radio tech. And there was no way to notify anyone that there was a problem. Miraculously and inexplicably, no other fatalities were suffered in the battle. The young men who could have retreated but stayed in the fight for the sole purpose of recovering Andrew's body were awarded with a Distinguished Service Cross, a Silver Star, 4 Bronze Stars, and several Purple Hearts for their valorous actions. Later that day back home, my family received a knock on our door that would change our lives forever. An Army major and a sergeant major stood stoically on my doorstep and said some words that began with, "On behalf of a grateful nation." In the months and years that followed, with the help of some great organizations and even greater individuals, my wife struggled to find purpose in her life. She became a writer and a tireless advocate working with veteran service organizations to ensure that veterans of every era get the benefits, respect, and dignity they deserve. She has spent countless hours talking with, crying with, and being there for the soldiers who served with her son and those who didn't, but to whom she represents the mom of their buddy that didn't make it home. She's done all this in Andrew's memory, but not in his name, as she fears doing so would give the appearance that she's making it about herself, which she refuses to do. She isn't even aware that I'm here tonight and doesn't yet know of this resolution. The one thing she does know is her biggest fear, that her son, her only child who died much too soon, will be forgotten. By voting yes to this resolution, you can all ensure this will never happen. It will give us all great peace to think that 20 years from now, another carefree little boy who got to ride his bike to the park by himself for the very first time will look at the sign, wonder who PFC Andrew Meary was, and learn of his story. Thank you once again. And once again, I ask you to please cast the yes vote for the resolution before you. Thank you.
Is there any discussion? There is some right there in the corner.
I'd like to make a recommendation for the park district itself to also make sure, if this goes through tonight, make sure all the service members there that knew the gentleman that gave his life and are known to come out and participate in regards to the ceremony itself. So, and, I think that's basically proper protocol in regards to
We would do a formal park dedication at that point.
And that would be in conjunction with the renovations, yes. Any other discussion? Okay, a motion was made by Commissioner Solowski, seconded by Commissioner Poling. Roll call.
Ayers?
Yes.
Ludeman?
Yes.
Newton?
Yes.
Poling?
Yes.
Solowski? Yes. Steines?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item item B, seeking a motion to approve a parks and facility naming policy.
Sir, can you speak up?
We're on item B, seeking a motion to approve a parks and facility naming policy.
This was one of the directives we talked about at the end of last month as well, is to move forward, how we go about it. We had brought, I had sent the policy out to all the commissioners early with a thing. I had received some comments back and brought it to the committee.